Welcome to DC. 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 You know we're down at the USA Cup. You're taking it slightly, I'm taking it slightly. Now you throw at them, you won't be right back. Well, we gon' be right here, we gon' be right here. We ain't going nowhere. Welcome to DC.
Welcome to Owning the Huddle podcast. I am Deuce. We got CeeLo, we got DT, we got Breeze in the building. It is Victory Monday, week 18. Victory Monday. What's good, DT?
What's good? What's good, man? Victory Monday, yo.
Looks like I'm the only one that predicted us to win. CeeLo predicted a blowout. CeeLo, how you feeling today?
Hey, I feel great. You know, I ain't putting no money on it, so I'm good. I'm great, man. It was a good game.
Breeze, man, was iced out. All white game again. Got Jason Wright, you know what I'm saying, checking out his drip, following him, liking all this stuff. Here we go again with Celebrity Breeze. What's good, Breeze, man?
Ain't nothing, man. It's a good day, man. How y'all brothers doing? Wait, you know what? No, it's a good day. It's a good day. I ain't gonna do that.
What's up, Breeze, man? Go ahead, man.
I mean, listen. Deuce was right. I was wrong. He picked the Commanders to win. The only week I didn't pick them to win, they do what they did. But somebody was missing from the stadium on Sunday. I'm throw that out there. And it wasn't me.
Oh man, what happened was look, man. Yeah, man, Victory Monday, man. Oh man, yeah, nah, man, I wasn't there, man. But
Shots fired.
Yeah, man, it was a joy to see it on TV, though, man. You know what I mean? Oh man, so it is Sam Howell Victory Monday. Just in case you didn't see some of the highlights, here you go.
Back to throw it for the first time. Going over the middle has McLaurin racing in for the end. Cal to throw it, loading up, going deep, and he's got a man. It is caught by McLaurin.
Well, that is a perfect illustration.
Now, going to run a little option. Howe, foot in the ground, nice cut. Howe is in. Touchdown, Washington.
Appreciate y'all, man. Support me all week. You know, y'all always have my back, but Coach always says it, man. It's in this room. You know, Dallas had everything to play for, man, and we beat them. We beat them bad, too, and it could have been a lot worse. We left a lot of things out there, man, so let's carry this momentum into the offseason and let's roll these boys next year.
Before we get into How Mania and if he's the future or not, DT, what's your initial reactions from the game?
Oh, man. So, obviously, I had us losing due to the fact that a lot of people were not playing this game. I felt like, young players, get their first experience playing outside the starters. They're going to make a lot of mistakes. But boy, was I wrong. These guys played up to the moment. So, a lot of young guys out there, man. You had a new name, Potato. What's his name?
Potato. Man, Potato. What's his name, man?
Oh my gosh.
Poteoi.
Oh, thank you, Bree.
Yeah.
Still said it wrong.
Yeah, these young guys played out, man. And against their starters, too. Like, I think that was the biggest shot to me, especially at home. And they didn't lie down to a team knowing they were trying to get something more than what we were trying to get. We were just trying to win, and they were trying to win to secure something even greater for the playoffs. But that's Dak's second loss, man. So I'll take that any day. Like many times he's beaten us before, I'll take that dub.
CeeLo, Dallas, right? People tell me, man, we ain't had nothing to play for. We wasn't out there trying to play. I mean, the game was meaningless to us. How you feel about that, CeeLo, and your reaction from the game?
Well, this is a family show, but straight BS. BS. Like, come on now. Like, if they didn't care, they would have put their third strings in there. They would have saved themselves, and they would have moved on to to playing Tampa. This is Mike McCarthy. This is what he does, though. Because honestly, I mean, it's easy for us to go back in retrospect, but I might have sat a couple guys if I was Mike McCarthy. I mean, he had a hobbling number 11 out there and Micah Parsons, and he had him still going out there to like the fourth quarter. I'm like, are you crazy, bro? And it just, to me, it didn't make sense. I felt like the Eagles, Giants game, I know it was kind of close towards the end, but not really. I just think typical Mike McCarthy. He had them all in there, but bottom line is we beat them fully healthy. They was trying. I mean, they were trying out there, and it was amazing. I think the one thing for me that stuck out for me, I think that was the defense's best game all season.
Yeah,
all
season. Definitely gonna get into that later. He definitely gonna get into that. But Breeze, you was there, right? Faithful. How was that experience like watching those guys walk up the steps before the game was over? What they call that, the shameful walk?
It was good, man. I mean, all things considered, like it was actually surprisingly a decent turnout. Granted, it was a lot of Cowboy fans, but it was a decent turnout. It was a good from the Commanders fans. Like I said, given the situation, it was a good turnout. And I don't know if it was if you could hear it on TV. I haven't watched the game back yet, but it's worth noting. Every time Sam Howell got a positive play, they played a howling sound in the stadium. So they gonna get their Red Wolf off regardless. They gonna get that issue off regardless. But it was dope though. It was dope. I had a good time.
Was that coming from DJ Premonition, or was that the crowd doing the noise?
No, the stadium. That was
DJ
stadium noise.
And that's his name too. Shout out to him too. We're gonna try to get him on the show.
Shout out. But like once people realized like what was happening, it became a thing in the stadium. Like it definitely became a thing.
Sounds good. Just in case you kind of was late to the show and you didn't see Sam Howell, here you go again.
Back to throw it for the first time. Going over the middle has McLaurin racing in for the end. Cal to throw it, loading up, going deep, and he's got a man. It is caught by McLaurin.
Well, that is a perfect illustration.
Now, going to run a little option. Howell, foot in the ground, nice cut. Howell is in. Touchdown, Washington.
Appreciate y'all, man. Support me all week. Y'all always have my back, but Coach always says it, man. It's in this room. Dallas had everything to play for, man, and we beat them. We beat them bad, too, and it could have been a lot worse. We left a lot of things out there, man, so let's carry this momentum into the offseason. Let's roll these boys next year.
Let's roll these boys next season. That right there made him my QB1 going into the offseason. That statement right there is the reason why he's my QB1. DT, what did you see from Samuel Devontae Howell? What did you see from him yesterday?
Man, I haven't seen something in a long time, y'all. Like, I understand we traded for Carson Wentz, but when Terry had to speed up just a little bit to get under that ball,
Terry got jets too, bro. Like Terry got jets, bro.
I knew he was shook. I knew he was shook, man. He was running like that. He said, "Oh wait, hold up."
Man.
Oh boy. But man, like this dude, like we've been saying, man, he has a combination of both Carson Wentz and Taylor Heineke. He's literally both in one person. And from what I've seen from performance, I was actually kind of shocked, not gonna lie, man. I thought it was gonna be kind of a mixed, uneven performance from him. It's going against their starters, but the moment didn't look too big for him. His pocket presence shocked me. Like, I like how he was standing poised. His legs are underrated. I thought people were going to catch him up in the league, but he got a little bit of speed to him. But the arm talent was just on full display yesterday, even though with 19 pass attempts. I wish that's something we can talk about later. I had a problem with, but from that little sample size, man, how can you not try to give this brother a chance next year, especially going this off season, and you're trying to invest in the offensive line and all these things like that? Build around this guy, and let's see what he has.
Breeze, when Tate threw that interception, what was the reaction in the stadium?
When he threw it, it was definitely a few people looking like, "Nah, here we go again with this." Especially when they showed the replay, and it was like cowboy, commander. Like, he still tried to float it up. It was a few people looking like, "Oh man, here we go." But he worked it out. Worked the kinks out, and he about looked the way I figured he would look going into the game. DT said it, man. He was poised in the pocket, and not that I want this from my quarterback necessarily, but Sam Howell does run with a little bit of an edge to him. Like, he's not necessarily looking to get positive yards and get down. Like, if you watch back the runner highlight, when he ran the touchdown, and he dipped his shoulder and kind of gave Trayvon Diggs a little at the end of that. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, it was good. It was good, man. I saw a lot to like and build on.
CeeLo, when you saw some of the passes, it didn't look like a lot of his passes were late. It didn't look like a lot of his passes was high. I don't think we saw one high pass, did we? Like you know what I'm saying, trying to throw to those guys, not that I can remember. So just using that small sample size for what we saw from him in this game, how would you kind of compare those to like Carson Wentz and Taylor Heineke?
Yeah, I think to DT's point, it was kind of a mix. We saw the Carson Wentz. I think about that Jacksonville game, that first, touchdown to Terry, kind of had that same vibe to it. So it felt real good about that. Like, oh, here we go. This gonna be a great year, So you had that part to it. I think the interception. I think the problem with the interception was not that it was an interception. It was that it was in the red zone, right? So you want to make those mistakes all day, right? But it's tough. That's something you want to unlearn. You want to make sure you throw that back. That pylon, you got to throw it out there to that pylon, so either your receiver gonna get it or no one gets it, kind of thing. So teaching moment for sure. But yeah, I agree, man. I agree. He looked the part. He looked comfortable. He did get some pressure. He got popped a couple times. Sacked 3 times. I remember the one where he tried to scramble out. They just came after him. So he felt what it feels like to get hit for real, and not in that yellow jersey. So I think he got a good sample size. We got a good taste of it, and I think he's probably like, we talk about it later, man, but like we could have seen this earlier. I know these coaches, and we talk about this in the chat all the time. I know these coaches don't want to play the young guys, man, but bro, like when you see what you have in your veterans, like a Carson and Taylor, and you get the turnovers, the interceptions, you get the high throws, you get the low throws, you get the inaccuracies. I'm like, well, then just let the young kid play. But we say that as fans, as coaches, you got to just see that. You just kind of have to project that and prepare him, because theoretically that's your future. So I just go back to coaching, man, and I wonder about what this kid can really do, could have done, given some opportunity and some preparation. So he looked great, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, we're going to stay with Howell for one more piece. What I saw from him when we kind of think about, okay, who is Sam Howell? What's that? Week 6 when Wentz got hurt. Week 6 to
Yeah.
now, right? So
Chicago.
Chicago, right? So we got to kind of look. Yesterday, I saw, and Breeze, you probably had a better view because you didn't sell your tickets to the game yesterday. So when you watched the game, it seemed like some of the pre-snaps, they wasn't clean, right? The pre-snap motions, the jet motions wasn't clean.
Mhm.
Some of his play actions wasn't clean. He was play action to the left and the running back was going to the right. And I think that play CeeLo mentioned when he kind of scrambled to the right, when I think it was Williams that kind of jetted to the right. And he only had like one receiver over there. It looked like he may have went to the wrong side. So when you look at that and you kind of say, I wonder if this was an issue in the beginning of the year when they talked about him, and we always hear about this playbook. Fitz came out about the playbook saying it wasn't quarterback friendly and all those things. And we'll start with Breeze. How much of an impact do you think that what we saw yesterday we would have seen in week 7?
Probably. It's a situation where, we all kind of know, understand. Like even like in practice, nothing is ever really truly full speed. So like once you get in a game and live action, even something as simple as a motion or just even a play call, it's like in the moment, it's a lot of stuff going on, and that kind of miscommunication stuff could have very easily. I feel like it could have still happened, earlier in the season, and not to mention, he's playing with other players that haven't been doing it as well. So like he's playing with Jonathan Williams, who hasn't been really playing that much. He's playing with Jared Patterson. Yeah, he's playing with Jared Patterson. Who
could have been them
active.
Mm-hmm.
Like you know what I mean. So like it wasn't just him. For all we know, it could have been Jared going the wrong way. Chris Paul was out there for the first time. It's a lot of moving pieces that haven't had to do it. In the moment. So that could also play a role. And without us really knowing the offense or the play call, there's no way to really know whose mistake was what unless they just come out and flat out tell us.
How you feel about that, DT?
I agree with Bree said. One of the biggest things is that the modern NFL and modern football in general it's a lot of air raid, spread offenses and things like that. So now these quarterbacks, they're not really playing under center as the old days and stuff like that. And this is just a comparison. I'm not saying he is this type of player, but when Patrick Mahomes came to the league, he had a chance to sit behind Alex Smith. One of the biggest things they always said in his first transition, he didn't know how to get under center and snap the ball. So I think about that's probably the same process that Sam Howell was going through. He wasn't asked to go under center that much because he was in shotgun 95% of the time. So imagine a player who's in shotgun all the time and you're asking him to go under center, and then he has to do play action by turning his back around from the defense, and then you have to analyze what the defense is doing pre-snap and post-snap. So I think those little things like that I've been preaching for, it's like, let's didn't play him, but to also understand the reason why he needed to play, because we already know what we had in Carson Wentz and Taylor Heinicke, and you can only go so far with what they have left. But with Howell, it's a lot of unknowns, but with a lot of ceiling.
And some of the things that we kind of talked about this past week was, we hear them say Howell's not ready, but what if it really wasn't Howell? Maybe it was the coaches that wasn't preparing him to be ready. So I end this back with you, CeeLo, is that when you look at week, when Wentz got hurt and you saw what Taylor Heinicke did, just hindsight and seeing yesterday, if he was doing the same thing that they were doing, why not just play him and see what happens? Do you think that's a fair assessment to make?
I think you have two guys that are, well, you have one guy that's a legitimate veteran in this league, and Carson Wentz at the time, so he's injured. And then you have a guy who who's been taking all of the second team reps, for all these weeks. So it's unfair for us to say they should have immediately went to Howell, because it doesn't make sense. He hasn't gotten the same level of preparation. He hasn't had the game experience. You're right in the thick of things. It was week 7 going in and play the Packers that next week. So it's probably unfair for us to say they shoulda, coulda, woulda, because I know it's easy to say that right now, especially after that game. So I'm gonna give him the benefit of the doubt and say I get it. What probably would have made a little bit more sense though, and what I always question is, how committed were they to Sam Howell? In other words, talk about, to DT's point, being under center, practicing, some of these plays with these guys to get a little bit more familiarity. I know you can't get you're pretty much playing scout team, right, as a third string, so you're not able to do some of these things. So
entirely.
What is exactly? So what is Zampese doing? Is it Zampese? What is Zampese doing on the side with him and his and other practice squad players to kind of prepare themselves for that? So my whole complaint, y'all been hearing me on these spaces. My whole complaint with Scott, or mostly with Ron, is their commitment to developing the quarterback position. And they want guys that already know the system, plug and play, and go and move on. I've yet to see really a commitment to developing a kid, and that's what I'm talking about. So it goes back to square one. When they drafted the guy, what are you doing to immediately, or to at a certain point, prepare him? And it doesn't have to be like he's a veteran. It just means that you're tailoring the offense to what he does best and be able to take over and move on. But instead, square peg, round hole, and be back to square one, starting guys like Heineke, because he knows the system. So that's where I am with it. I'm okay with them not going to Howell in against the Packers. It's just more of a philosophical thing. Like, what is Ron and company doing in order to prepare for ourselves for the future?
If I could add on to that real quick, I feel like it's at least from my assumption, just on outside looking in, I feel like when they drafted Sam, like from, I guess, rookie camp to training camp, it was like, okay, we're going to, granted, minimal reps, we're going to work them in, we'll learn it, we'll get them up to speed, whatever. Once the season starts, like, okay, keep in mind, Carson is still learning this stuff. So, like, we can't afford to, Carson is our guy. We got to get Carson ready to play. We can't really afford to, at that point in time, get this 5th round pick ready when he's the 3rd quarterback. So yeah, Sam, go run scout team. We'll worry about you when we got to worry about you. And then Carson got hurt, and it's like, oh, all right, now we got to bring him up to speed a little bit. And then that was a 4 or 5 week span. And then after that, it's like, okay, well, Ron still wants to kind of push Carson as the guy. Again, it's still Carson's first year doing this stuff too. So all right, back to Carson. It's just I think the only time they really put a consistent thought process into developing Sam was in the summertime, and then in that 4 or 5 week span where he was the backup quarterback because of injury. But I don't think for most of the season it was like, oh, let's get Sam ready on the field. Meeting rooms maybe, but once they went to practices, this week you're going to be Aaron Rodgers or whoever we're playing against. You're going to be that quarterback. Yeah. You're not Sam Howell Monday through Thursday or whatever. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah, good stuff, man. Hey, look, after this commercial break, we're going to come back with Jack Del Rio. Do I need to apologize again to Jack Del Rio? Dreadful Monday, NFL coaches on the block. And it seems like the NFL in Houston does have a problem.
Do you sit back and say, man, these walls just need something? Feel like it's time to freshen up your place with something new? If your answer is yes, then it's time to call Rob of Lewis Paints Plus, the accent wall expert. Rob will even give you a free estimate on how he can transform those boring walls in your home. To book today, call 240-418-5241 or reach out on Instagram at Lewis Paints Plus. And for 10% off, tell him Red Zone sent you.
So let's talk about Jack Del Rio. Okay, so the defense, they played well, but one of the things that I think was and this guy, and I don't know, like Breeze, you were there, you didn't sell your tickets like some people. Kiki, right? Kiki was out there. He was all over the place, right? He was up at the line of scrimmage. He was able to sprint out to get in his zone drop 10 yards away. He was from east to west, showing speed. He didn't have a ton of control, but I think you can kind of teach control, right? Speed, you can't teach. So we're gonna go to we're not gonna do DT yet because he loves Jack Del Rio. So we're gonna start with CeeLo. What's the biggest thing that you saw from that defense yesterday?
For me, man, it was the secondary. I don't know if y'all noticed, but I feel like every ball that Dak tried to throw was contested. They were right there. I mean, they were like right there. I mean, it was crazy. We all know about the two contested ones, the PBU, and then the pick six from Kendall. Sorry, yeah. So for me, man, that DB group looked the best I've ever seen. And granted, you got CD. I mean, you got a couple of decent wide receivers they were playing against, and I just felt like they just came, stepped up to the challenge. So to me, that's what stood out for me. Secondly, man, like even the running game, they couldn't get going. Like I'm talking about, like they probably had at least 3 or 4 tackles for losses. I mean, they couldn't run nowhere. So I just felt like everyone felt like they fit their gaps perfectly. Chase Young was playing contained. He didn't play out of control. I mean, everyone was kind of doing their jobs, and they did it really, really well. So it just felt like a really controlled and well prepared defense.
And like Breeze, it seemed like Ridgeway was having this breakout game. We know the thing with Dallas had drafted him with the fifth round. Last year they cut him for depth reasons. They wanted to bring him back on the practice squad, but we swooped in. But unfortunately, he got that injury. But man, he was balling out. But anyone else from that defense kind of stand out to you? Because let's face this, Dallas had they starters. This is the people that was out there for the most part is going to be the guys playing in their first playoff game. So don't give me the I don't want to hear any of that. How did you feel about seeing that defense, Breeze?
They look good. Take it how you want to take it, but I think it actually did the defense well, that they could kind of just play free. You know what I mean? It's kind of like, we don't, not to say we don't have nothing to play for, but we don't have nothing to lose. You know what I mean? It's like I can call this aggressively. I can press up here where I normally wouldn't press up. I can trust this linebacker to cover this zone, this area. And if we get beat, we get beat, but it doesn't hurt us. You know what I mean? I think especially with the younger guys out there, they could think that they just play football. Then they have to think about, am I in the right zone? Do I have the right depth? I know I want to cover this side, but he might go free. This, like, you know what I mean? They could just play free, and it showed with Kalik, Danny Johnson, Ridgeway, Chase a little bit. Casey Toohill had a good game. David Mayo was decent. Like, you know what I mean? Everybody just played free and loose, and they were just playing football.
Yeah,
I would like to see that continue, but I know things change when it matters, but
So DT, I say it seems like Jack Del Rio needs his curl coffee in order to be effective. He came out there with a game plan. I kind of agree with Breeze. Hey, look, guys, just go out there and play. Because as we saw yesterday, which why Kellen Moore is not like as good as people say, the middle of the field was wide open like the whole game for the most part. But as far as this defense, how do you look at this defense and how they performed yesterday? And what are those pieces that we really wasn't kind of looking at, or we were kind of on that thin line of getting rid of them? Has the play of anyone yesterday kind of swayed you one way or another?
Man, I tell you something. Like, I was really impressed with this defense yesterday, going up against a team that's been scoring 35 points a game since Dak Prescott came back, and we all know how Dak does when he plays them. But this is by far the worst game I ever seen Dak Prescott played in the National Football League. Not only just in the league. I never see him like get rattled. Like CeeLo said, every ball he was throwing to, it was either contested or it was a drop or miss. Like defensive line was controlling the line of scrimmage, and they had Tyron Smith back. They had Tyler Smith at guard. They had Jason Peters, 40-year-old self, at left tackle. They had their whole roster, and we had a bunch of guys that was either on preseason or practice squad, and Jack Del Rio coached up, pulling out your boy Kiki. I ain't never seen him like that before. Like, it's trying to make me think, like, why is this dude like I seen him at Michigan. He played the Viper position. That's what he was supposed to be brought in for to do when we drafted him. So, and you didn't have Jamin Davis, and you didn't have Cole Holcomb, and you had David Mayo and Kiki out there with Percy Butler and
I forgot about Percy. I'm sorry about that.
All these young guys was just balling yesterday, bro, and it shows the depth and the how I want to say it. It shows the adjustment that they did. I didn't want to say adjustment really because I'm still mad at the past two games. I love Jack, but the past two games it was rough. But this is the type of adjustment we need to see from now on.
Yeah, man. Before we go to the coaches, Breeze, how did Percy look? Because we haven't really talked about him a lot. I didn't see no standout plays for the most part.
He was consistent. So one of Percy's biggest problems, and not just on defense, on special teams too, is that Percy is fast. So Percy will cover. He can cover ground, and his problem is he turns into a heat-seeking missile and just flies past people. You know what I mean? Like he can't really. He struggled with having to break down and actually form tackle. And if I remember correctly, I believe that was a knock on him coming out of college. I mean, he'll come downhill with no problem, but once he gets there, if you can give him one of them, he's gonna fly right past you. But he seemed to kind of settle down a little bit and not, again, with not having to maybe try so hard, not having to kind of fly across the field and kind of break down. He just played like a very complete and controlled game. He was very consistent. He was near the ball a lot. I believe still playing special teams, and I know on defense for sure. I mean, he looked good. Hopefully, it's something you can build on because we have Percy has a lot of potential, but if you don't reach it, you get fired.
Yeah, that's the truth. So we're gonna stay with you, Bree. So we know a few head coaches have been fired, some coordinators have been fired. I think we're gonna get more into that on the next show. But when it comes to us, what Ron Rivera said was he was like he's gonna evaluate the coaches throughout the week. Right. So that told me right there, ain't nobody getting fired today, right? Because Ron is going to do Ron stuff. He's probably trying to find reasons to keep these guys. That's probably mostly what he's trying to do is to have an excuse to say why he's going to keep Scott Turner, right? That's what I'm thinking he's doing. He's not looking for no negative plays. He told us the video assistant, offensive assistant, hey, look, give me all the positive plays, right? So, but for you, is there anyone on this staff that you think should be fired?
So I'll put it like this: with the offense averaging, granted, I'm sure the average went up after this last game a little bit, but with the offense averaging 18 points a game, and it's in football in general, most coaches say you kind of feel like you need to get at least 21 to win. If I'm Ron Rivera and I'm allowed to return for next season, which I'm sure he will be, there's no way that I am staking my current job and potentially my coaching career on an offensive coordinator who couldn't score more than 18 points a game. I have a personal thought process of how to replace said person. But if I'm making the call and I have to let one person go, I gotta look at Scott Turner and give him his pink slip, man. It's an easy way out, but sorry, Scott gotta go, man.
CeeLo, even with that game yesterday and what we saw from Sam Howell, was that enough for you to say, maybe Scott Turner can do something?
That's an absolute 1,000% negative.
Hey,
I
yo.
st-
Look at
I st- I still saw that jet sweep to Rodgers. That was awful.
That's horrible.
Um,
No way.
bro, he is committed to the Jets. He is committed to having that guy that's sweeping get the ball. Like that's his baby. Like clearly that's what he got to get done. Whoever it could be Rodgers, it could be Thomas, it could be anyone, Curtis. But nah, man, he called the game plan that I'm not as people are really critical about about the game plan. They didn't want to see how kind of open it up and go ham. I think like I told y'all earlier, I think the game plan was somewhat appropriate. Maybe he could have got 10 more passes in. My issue is I think their issue is they can't protect any quarterback right now. And unless you can dial up a game plan that's going to get the ball out quick and get the ball out, with immediacy, and versus a 7-step drop, then you gotta keep running the ball a little bit more because they want to protect him. They want to protect his confidence. They don't want him to, have a first game that's with 15 sacks and that kind of thing. So I'm pretty sure they wanted to kind of, see what he had, but not see what he had, if that makes sense. And that's why you saw the big long balls. That's why you saw, open up a little bit in the third quarter. So all that being said, man, I think I'm looking forward to a coordinator that we talked about it before, that can take what that player does best and fit an offense around that player, said player, and try to, continue to develop that player, but making sure you're accentuating his positives and what he does well. I don't want to force Sam to go out and do things like be under center too much or whatever you want to call it, and all of a sudden he's tripping over people's feet, his timing is off, and it's like, why do that? Is it that important? So that's what I'm looking forward to. And that, to me, that's in a very simplistic way. That's kind of what Scott doesn't do too well. His offense looked almost the same in all three quarterbacks. You know what I'm saying? And that's not what good coordinators do. So, and they all struggle, by the way. So anyway, that's kind of how I looked at Scott. Unfortunately, I hate to say it, but yeah, man, Scott, Scott got to go, bro.
DT, is there anybody other than Scott that you think needs to leave the building?
It's really hard to point to anybody else because at least for Del Rio's standpoint, 2 out of 3 years he has had a top 10 defense. The 3 years that Scott has been here, we have been bottom 7th in the league. And I think that's been the biggest hindrance to this team right now, even though we have been struggling through 8 quarterbacks. But it's really hard to not just point the finger at Scott. I mean, when you have the talent, when you have the 3 wide receivers, you have tight ends that can be red zone targets, and you have 2 running backs, actually 3 if McKissick is healthy. You got 3 running backs that can catch the ball in the backfield, protect you. Like, you have an offense that can be scary. But the problem is, even Greg Olsen said this yesterday, the brother is smart. Like, he can draw up plays with anyone. But it's when you're trying to do too much. It's like I said earlier in one of the podcasts, it's almost like he's trying to prove something. Just do what you got to do to win. Don't try to be the next Andy Reid. Don't try to be the next Sean McVay. You be Scott Turner. You do what needs to be done for this team to get victories. And I feel like, on a personal standpoint, the past 3 years we've been here, there's a lot of games that we lost because of the offense. Am I wrong? I understand 2021, the defense was kind of weird and things like that, but it was a lot of games that we should have won with the offense. And something has to change. You can't go into next offseason with a new ownership and the same staff. Somebody's hat got to change.
Go ahead, Reese.
I got a bonus one. Since we all mutually agree on Scott Turner, I got a bonus one.
Uh-oh.
Luis Castillo, the tight end coach. That's the first name, Luis. Right? He got to go. He got to go.
Let's see those.
Man, listen. The way that the tight end group has fallen off the face of the planet is crazy. Like, I understand Logan was coming back from injury. John Bates was a non-factor all season for real.
Turner.
Cole Turner did absolutely nothing. Amani Rogers got hurt, I know, but
Curtis Hodges got hurt.
Like, so I know injuries did play a role. I'm not going to sit there and pretend like it didn't. And Scott Turner played a part of a role in there too, with as far as things having them like, you know, one-on-one blocking elite defensive ends one-on-one and stuff like that. Like, you know, Scott Turner didn't necessarily do him any favors with that game planning and play calling. But I mean, the tight end group gave us virtually nothing all season. I was talking to a friend of mine earlier today, and like name 2 plays off the top of your head that a tight end provided all season. I can't think of 2. I struggle to come up with 1, but I can't think of 2. Like, and the years past, like last year, the tight ends were like the focal point of the offense, minus Terry McLaurin. Like, yeah. So
there you have it, Luis Castillo. He actually he actually might get fat. Somebody gonna get fat. I don't know.
Somebody got to.
Somebody got to get fat.
You cannot
bring back the staff. Is it Masco?
John Masco.
I know.
Maybe.
I doubt it because people love him, but that's another candidate too.
Yeah,
so.
With Chris Paul, what he showed yesterday, somebody need to get fat off that alone. After we come back from this break, we're going to talk about Lovie Smith. We're going to give our little takes about Lovie Smith after we get back.
Hi, I'm Christian Miles, native Washingtonian and real estate agent servicing the Washington metropolitan area. I started my career as an investor and later transitioned to the residential side. I really wanted to leave the investor side because I wanted to connect with people. Building relationships is important to me. I understand the buying and selling process can be challenging. I get it. I've been there. I'm a mom, wife, friend, and neighbor. I absolutely love helping families and connecting with people. Going through the home buying and selling process is stressful enough. When working with me, I make it fun. As a realtor, I think it's important to be able to connect with you. Every detail is important, no matter how small. Let me take care of the heavy lifting while you focus on the joys of finding a new home. Something I live by, people may not remember what you said, but they will always remember how you made them feel. With me, it's an experience.
So let's listen to a little part of this clip from Stephen A. Smith discussing the Lovie Smith situation. I'll go back and edit this out too. Gotta figure out how you use this thing. There's the ad.
Thanks so much. Navy Federal Credit. Our members are the mission.
Falls on Aaron.
Yeah, significant jump comes. Snaps of last night's game.
See. Aaron Rodgers. Hold on, man. Hold on. It's really kind of my first time using this junk.
You probably let it play all the way through the first time and then just went to the next, whatever the next video was in the thing.
Oh, yeah.
The Ron in Vegas.
No, Lord.
He said, "Oh Lord, it's crazy."
Bravo! You use the Quicksilver card with 1.5% cash back on every purchase, every way. That makes you the hero of every purchase. What's in your wallet? You just wanted them to band-aid the issue for the moment to buy you some time before you did what you wanted to do. The Houston, Texas organization. You just wanted them to band-aid the issue for the moment to buy you time before you did what you wanted to do. The Houston, Texas organization are an atrocity. They are an embarrassment. And as far as I'm concerned, if you're an African American and you aspire to be a head coach in the National Football League, there's 31 teams you should hope for. You should hope beyond God that the Houston Texans never call you. Not as long as that man is in there. Because it's an embarrassment and something needs to be said about it. Floor is yours.
Let's go back to the Cully situation. Let's start there with the Cully situation, and we'll start with Breeze. What's your take on that whole situation?
I mean, I don't think David Culley got a fair shot. You know what I mean? He was given he didn't get to coach the roster he thought he was inheriting for one. And then when the team just kind of fell flat, they moved on primarily due to the issues with Deshaun Watson. And then they moved on from him without giving him a fair shake, and then pretty much did the same thing to Lovie Smith. And I feel like most of us kind of felt like it was headed that way when they hired Lovie Smith last year. But yeah, just history repeats itself. It just kind of put him in it pays the organization in a real bad space, real bad spot. You know what I mean?
Can't hear you, dude. I can't hear you, Deuce.
What about you, DT? We know that Lovie Smith was part of that coaching staff with Cully. He was a defensive coordinator, and I think he was an associate head coach or whatever title they give. They promoted him to head coach, of course. They dealt with Cully, for instance, dealt with all the Deshaun drama the whole summer, the whole season, him being deactivated every game, but practicing. He was playing receiver at some point. Like, he dealt with all of that stuff. And here, Lovie comes in. Of course, Deshaun is gone, but they're just a crap team, right? They're not good. So what's your take on now that this, they have some key players? They have 2 picks in the first round, 2 in the second round, and this team could really have a turnaround next year. But Lovie Smith is out. How do you feel about that?
I think moves like that is just it disturbs me, because when you see guys like Lovie Smith and you see David Culley, them guys are well respected around the league, especially a league that is 70 to 80% African American. So these guys, younger guys that come in the NFL, or these older guys, they look at them as brothers, mentors, and leaders of men. And to use these men in the past 2 years as scapegoats just so you can find a better option and have your way of getting big players, like trying to get your future quarterback this year or try to make your team better, and you're just sacrificing these games for picks, it's really wild to me, man. This is not just a Houston problem. This goes off through the league. I remember when the Arizona Cardinals had my brother, was it Vance Joseph, or was it
I think Vance Joseph was in
Denver.
Denver, yeah. Was
Denver.
it Wilkes?
Steve Wilkes.
Wilkes?
I think Arizona had Steve Wilkes.
Yeah.
And they had Steve Wilkes, and he lasted 1 year. Or Vance Joseph, he didn't get a share opportunity. Like, it's getting very annoying at the point that guys that look like me, they're just being scapegoated, and they're trying to get better options and not giving them opportunity. And I don't even blame Lovie Smith for going for a win, because then guys staying on this team, losing 13 plus games. Who wants to lose 13 plus games every year? You're coming to the National Football League, you want to win. That's the only thing you want to do. And it's very sick at this point, man. I lost a lot of respect for the Houston organization.
See, let's look at the flip side of it, because if you go into a Texan space, they will tell you, look, I don't care that he's black. He's not good. He has a 2005 mentality for the offense. Him and Pep Hamilton and those guys is not somebody that I want to groom. Bryce Young or CJ Stroud, whichever way that they go. And when it comes to actual performance of NFL head coach, how do you separate the two? Where he's just a bad coach in general, but he's also a black coach that you knew for a fact that you wasn't going to retain him the following year.
Then they shouldn't have hired him.
Exactly.
I mean, that would be my response. Like, okay, it shouldn't matter. No, it shouldn't matter. But unfortunately, race does play a factor in the NFL. And they hired this man to just keep the seat warm for the next guy. Like, that's messed up. You mean, do a thorough search and go get your guy that's hopefully your coach for the next at least 4 years, because that's how long it's going to take to get that organization back where it needs to be after the Deshaun Watson stuff. Keep in mind, they did have a coaching search last year, and they all flopped because you had them dudes actually tried to interview Josh McCown. Josh McCown, who was a borderline backup quarterback and was an assistant coach at, no disrespect, Breeze, but at a high school. That's it. That's like, he went from a high school assistant coach to NFL coach, got two interviews because his boy is Nick. That's the NFL in a nutshell, bro. That's the NFL in a nutshell. You got these cats that because they're boy, and unfortunately, the most of those, that's the problem I have in the NFL. If that happens, if everyone has those connections, then okay, that's part of the NFL. But usually who has those connections are non-people of color. So guys like Jeff Saturday and Josh McCown, who's done nothing at the coaching level, can get an actual head coaching opportunity is crazy to me. Then you go pick Lovie Smith, because the only reason they did that and they didn't go with Josh because the media killed them. So they went as a default factor to go and get Lovie Smith, and they never intended on giving him a job and giving him an opportunity. Whoever's going to need 3 to 4 years, give him that time, give him that grace, give him that support. They have a ton of picks. It's a great city, Houston is. It's a great arena. Like, just let them have the opportunity to build, and they never gave him that chance.
And that's crazy, especially when you bring up Jeff Saturday, and he won one game, that first game that he came back, and I was so livid that they made that decision. And those Colts fans in those spaces was telling me, because he went into the owner's office and he banged the table and say, "We're not losers, we're winners." That's the reason why you hire him. I mean, to be perfectly honest, is that his coaching experience, actually Breeze has better experience. Like, Breeze was better qualified. Because his high school coaches, they were sorry. Like the teams that he coached in high school was trash. And
under
Breeze,
500.
Right, under 500. And Breeze going to championship game. So actually, Breeze should have had an NFL job this year. But again,
at least an interview.
Let's talk about it.
So again, man, the NFL has a serious problem. It has a serious issue until they actually want to make a change. All these things that they're trying to do to pity pat it season after season, CBA after CBA, is not working. Let's get down to the nitty-gritty and say what it is. You don't want coaches of non-color running your organization, or most of those organizations out there. Let's start there so we can have honest conversations. But this has been On in the Huddle podcast. Deuce, we got CeeLo, we got DT, we got Breeze. Thank you so much for joining. Thank you for watching. Remember, do it because you love it, not because it loves you.
Welcome to Owning the Huddle podcast presented by Red Zone in the Lab, where we discuss all things Washington Commanders, from the executive and front offices, coaches, players, and fan experience. Join DT, Breeze, CeeLo, and Deuce as they break down the pre- and post games. Do it because you love it and not because it loves you. Hail Commanders!